Hello, everyone. We have a special guest with us today. We have the well-known Vicki in our industry, and she is a wealth of knowledge and experience. We really want to get her on because we wanted to learn just a little bit more about her career up until now, and her life up until now, and then we're going to dig into a little bit of the dirt about judging and federations and posing and what we like and what we don't like. And then we'll go from there. So, Vicki, I've known you or met you probably around about 11, 12 years ago when I first competed. And
Right.
You judged me on stage for A
Yes.
and B. And I met you at the A and B workshops and you helped me
Yep.
pose.
Yep.
And now it's come full circle because in about 11 weeks' time, you're going to judge me again,
I know.
posing again. So it's come full circle. And, it's been great to obviously stay in contact with you over that time period, and
Yeah.
I'm so excited to watch you from the other side. To be on the stage and watch you again from the other side. But I want to kick it off and just start with kind of where you started with your competition career, because I know back in the 90s you got into fitness, health and fitness, and then going from someone that was probably a little bit maybe fit and unhealthy, and I think I read somewhere that you were probably around about the 80 kilo mark, and then you got down to stage at around 54 kilos and won your figure division. So tell me a little bit about that journey. What federation was it? Why did you decide to compete? Was there anyone that you looked up to and there was a reason why you wanted to jump on stage? And how did it kind of start from there?
Okay, it actually started, I got a free pass to join a gym. And I went along and they did these classes called aerobics, and I started doing aerobic class, and I'd put on a bit of weight, even though I was still teaching ballet at the time. But when you're teaching, you don't really work a lot of, your weight or your fat off. And I didn't know a great deal about the eating side of it either. So back in the early days when you wanted to get weight off, you used to take pills and starve yourself, wrap your body in plastic and then turn the electric blanket on. Anything that was going, I would try, because we didn't have the education in the dance world. So, yeah, starting at the gym was great, and I enjoyed the aerobics first and foremost. And then I got into the weight training, and then I sort of learnt a little bit about nutrition, did all the courses and things, and my weight started to come down a little bit. And having, I suppose, fairly muscular legs due to ballet, because I'd been dancing since I was 4 years old, people said, "Oh, you should compete." And I said, "What as?" Like, I didn't really understand much about bodybuilding back then. So they said, "Go," and I thought, well, I'm going to go and watch a show, because I never ever take anybody else's word, "Oh, you should do it." I want to see for myself.
Yep.
So I went along, and I think I went to a show at Camberwell Civic Centre, and it was a non-natural federation, and I didn't know back then the difference. And this massive lady came out on stage, and I'm thinking, "Oh, gee, I don't think I can do this." And she was in the bodybuilding, but it obviously wasn't a natural athlete. And I just thought, "Oh, gee, I don't know if I can do this." Anyway, that cut a long story short, it was compared, I think, by Terry Martinez, and a girlfriend of mine. This is how I met him. I saw a friend of mine in the audience that was actually dating him, and I didn't know, and I saw her. Anyway, long story short, I got to meet Terry Martinez, and Terry Martinez then started to do my dietary work, and he helped me along to my first show. So that's sort of how I wanted to do it for me. I wanted to see if I could do it. Yeah. I liked the fact that it was disciplined, because ballet is very disciplined. So I liked the discipline of the training, and I also liked the fact that it was teaching me about the food and educating me a lot on that. So I learned a lot from the courses I'd done to get the Vic Fit and all that sort of thing. That took me a couple of years to do back then through Box Hill. Didn't give me enough information of what I wanted to actually sort of do myself. So I learned a lot from Terry Martinez about supplementation and food intake and quantities and what have you. So
can you run us through can you run us through maybe just like back then what you did? Like what does a
what
diet
would you
look
eat in a
like?
day?
What did your training look like?
Yeah, what would a day of food look like back then?
Yeah,
I'm
and
curious as
also
well.
who did your posing? How did you learn posing?
Well, that was another thing too, because there was no posing coaches. So he tried to teach me, because you had to do a 90-second routine. It was ANBB back then.
Okay.
Since then, they've dropped a B, right? So now it's ANB. But when I did it, it was ANBB.
Okay.
And it was at the Camberwell Civic Centre. So Terry's diet, like, because I didn't know a great deal about the thing, I just did exactly what he told me to do.
Perfect.
So the morning I'd have some oats, and I'd have protein powder in it with flaxseed oil. Then my next meal was a slice of sourdough bread with mashed sweet potato.
Wow.
Lunchtime was just rice, and it didn't have I didn't have any protein mixed in with it. It was just rice with secondary proteins like kidney beans was in that, and just vegetables. So I had no protein mixed with those two meals. It was mainly carbs. Then the next meal was tuna and just green vegetables with MCT oil, which was absolute hideous. It was the worst tasting stuff. I used to almost dry reach trying to get it down.
This is sounding like a pescatarian diet.
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked for me. And then I just have the normal, like fish, say 200 to 250 grams of lean meat, chicken and fish. I'd have that sort of for evening meal with just green vegetables or salad. But and flaxseed oil was a big part of it. Every meal I had flaxseed. But I actually dropped down, and I remember looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, my goodness me, the scales haven't changed much from like 70 kilos, but I look different. You know, the body fat had come up. I had lots of energy.
Of course.
It was really good. The second prep he gave me was different again, because then I had recipes like I made tuna burgers, salmon burgers, and stuff like that. So
The world started
really
advancing a little bit.
Hey?
The world started advancing a little bit. I wonder if anyone who's listening to this was trying to, this is what I was doing while Vicki was talking. As she was explaining her meals, I was calculating the calories, like ballpark figure, right? Like based on
I was
what
doing
you
that with
ate
the
that day.
protein.
I never,
like 60
never
grams of
counted
protein.
the calories. Never,
Yeah,
all I did was weigh it. So if I was having like chicken and sweet potato, I had to weigh 150 grams of chicken cooked, and then I'd weigh it. And then I'd have, if I had 60 grams of sweet potato, I weighed that cooked. That's how I did it. And then I'd do the same preparation, put them all in little containers, never went anywhere without a meal. I'd snack on raw beans, snow peas, raw carrots. That's what I'd snack on through the day, because when I became a gym instructor, it was really hard to sort of eat all those small meals during the day. But, you know, I came from that weight right down, and I walked on stage at, like I said, at 54 kilos, and I didn't feel tired, and I wasn't starving and climbing the walls. I never felt hungry, because he made sure that what was in those meals, all the meals were really low glycemic foods that I was having. So I wasn't having any cravings, because I'm a real sugar thing. I wasn't. I think I went on the biochromium, I think, was something that I went on to help me suppress sugar cravings. Okay. And then I think I did about half an hour walk, and at that stage I was teaching probably 12 aerobic classes a week. Okay. So all around in different gyms. So I'd drive to, you know, Waverley to Emerald. I'd go to Ringwood. You know, that was what you did back then. That was once I got into the industry and started to become an instructor as well. But, you know, with the competing, like I said, we had to do the 90-second routine. And I remember Terry started teaching me this routine to this music. I thought, oh, this is hideous. I said, I can't work with you. I said, you don't hear the music the same as I do. And one of his other girls, she hated her music and I hated, so we swapped music. And I said, can you just let me do my own? Yeah. I just made up my own. I didn't know. It had way too much dance in it anyway, but I still hit a pose every now and then. And I virtually taught myself. But then watching other people and watching lots of shows. And then I started going to everything and looking, and I'd try and pick who was winning and all the rest of it. And every time someone wouldn't win, I'd wonder why. And then I started to understand more about the symmetry and stuff. So I virtually had to teach myself, because I don't like listening to other people, because they always give you the wrong opinion. And that was happening during my prep. Everyone was telling me, you shouldn't be taking drugs and all this. I'm thinking I'm not. I'm taking some protein powder and branched chain amino acids was all I had. But my body was just changing. My body was obviously reacted to the weight training, because I was getting some good muscle, and the fat just kept coming off. And I virtually had to do nothing for my legs because they were so muscular. So I never had to squat, because I'd spent all my life squatting right down to the ground virtually, doing full plies in ballet. So that's why I've got quads. My quads were massive. Like, they were bigger than some of the guys, and my calves were bigger than some of the guys.
It's so funny. Like, most us guys, we have clients that have come from a dancing background, and I don't know if with myself, most of those clients have big quads and big calves. That's just the way it is.
It is. It's the ballet training, because you've got to jump, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to jump and go on your toes. So you're using your calf muscles all the time.
Yeah. So just one sec.
I just want to ask. I'm itching to know, how long were your preps, Vic? Like, how long did you actually prep for? How many weeks?
All right. The first one I started, I think it was sort of late. I think the first one was I first started. I think my first one was in like a January, and I wasn't planning on a comp. I just went on to an eating plan to see what would happen to my body. And then their comps were coming up. So I started in January, and my first comp was in 1997 in September.
Oh, wow. So it was about 9 months.
Yeah.
So 36 weeks.
But you did drop like 25 kilos.
Yeah, true.
Oh, yeah. I adapted. The food suited my lifestyle back then.
Mm-hmm.
It was because I was a single mum. I had Cameron, and Cameron had to sit in the foyer and eat his Wheat Bix while I did the 6 a.m. aerobic class. So that's
poor Cam.
That's the poor Cam. And then he fell asleep under the table at my first comp, so he missed the whole thing. So
Poor Cam.
I know he's going to hate me for saying that. He said, "Make sure you mention me," and I have now, so that's good. But the prep was quite. But I never felt like I was missing out on anything, because it was so regular, the meals and everything, and I had to be organised because I was a single mum and doing all this running around. So, totally different to my lifestyle now. But it was easy. I felt it easy. And a lot of the time when people come in now for posing and they go, "Oh, I'm starving," and all this, I'm thinking, I don't know what they're doing. And I sometimes I don't even want to ask, because I've heard some terrible things, and I just say, I'm not saying anything. But all I know is that I learned a lot from doing it myself and putting myself through the process, and it made me understand quantities. But the next comp that I went to do, I was aiming for 1998, and I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was doing it because everybody else was doing it, and I wasn't dropping anything, and I was just like in a bad headspace. Because I got to look so good, and then all of a sudden, and I know this happens to people, I was really down in the dumps, and I was quite depressed that I didn't look the same as what I did on the day, because I didn't know enough about that.
Yeah, and to be fair, there wasn't a lot out back then in terms of, like we spoke about it on the previous podcast. It was pretty much who you knew, what you spoke to, contacts at the gym who'd been training.
Yeah.
And then at that point, magazines, right? It was like whatever magazines you get your hand on.
Yeah. Well, I had some magazines that I'd got from overseas, which were specifically for women's bodybuilding, and that's where I sort of looked at a lot of the posing. And I looked at a lot of the posing, and then I sort of saw that Arnold had taken ballet classes, and I thought, this is exactly it. A lot of the stuff is based on alignment and posture. And I know that so easily, and this is why I love teaching the posing, because it is like teaching ballet. You have to align everything up. and you've got to showcase. Only this time, when you do put the person in a position, they've got to tense their muscles. Yeah. Whereas in ballet, you actually just hold the frame there, or you go through the line. And that's why the classic is really easy for me to teach, because I see all that. And then, you know, jumping ahead a couple of years, I met up with Craig Lucas at the gym in Wanturna, and we spent nearly every night watching all the 84, 85 Olympias, and I just fell madly in love with the way they all pose. And then I could I learned stuff from him as well, because he'd competed in Rocco's shows. Mm-hmm. So Rocco Pedicsanio, I hope I said that right.
Yes, yeah.
He ran many shows, and Craig had competed in his shows. So, you know, Craig had a big background because he'd travelled around and he'd gone overseas. I think a girl he was dating had got into Miss Universe or something. So he had a lot of passion for it as well. So it sort of rubbed off on me, and we just couldn't get enough of it. And we'd go to so many shows, and back in the Camberwell Civic Centre, it used to be packed to the rafters.
Wow.
And it was standing room only, and everybody stayed to the end, and everybody cheered for everybody else. Wow. Not, oh, that's my mate, I'm going home now. You know, like they do now. Once their friend's been on, they all leave. But
well, I guess there was no social media, so if you wanted to see what a show looked like, you had to go. There was no.
You had to go.
You had to go. Yeah, that's amazing. I love it.
You had to go. And look, that's why I don't have many photos, because as a single mom, I couldn't even afford them. But nowadays you can get, I think I've got about 10 photos that a friend of mine took, because I couldn't afford the photos, because they were $25 for one this size.
Wow.
And I couldn't afford that back then.
Vix, if you want, me, Scotty and Michael can maybe do a photo of the three of us and send it to you that you can put up at home.
Thank you very much. Believe it or not, I do have a photo of the three of you from the first one that you did. I actually went to Officeworks and I've got it printed out. I have it at the gym.
Oh wow.
Oh, so there you go. Thank you very much.
Wow. That's so nice.
I have one. Yeah.
Well,
I know, but things like that are sentimental to me.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
I like the memories, and I like reflecting on how I got to where I am now. When I did have a bit of negative stuff. The first lesson I went at Box Hill to do the core, I think they call it the core part of the course. The guy came in and said, "Oh, well, you're all expecting to be working forever in the gym. Most of you will be lucky to last for 3 months." Yeah. And I thought, "Oh, this is nice. He's a nice, positive instructor, this dude." Yeah. So when I started working in Spartan, someone said, "Oh, you'll be lucky to last here." So that was 20 years ago.
Wow, has it been that long in Spartans?
Yes.
Wow. That's amazing.
Can I ask something? When did Vicki, the posing coach, start? What year was that?
Vicki the posing coach started in 1998 when I was still working at Wanturna Health and Squash, which it was back then. It's Genesis now.
Yep.
And after I'd done all my courses and trained with Terry Martinez, I had people approaching me asking to train them for competition. Mm-hmm. So I started comp prep coaching back in 98.
Wow.
So,
I didn't know that. Wow.
I know. There's lots of things you probably don't know, Doug.
Well, tell us.
Yeah. So the first two girls I trained was Bronwyn Duchenik and Jo Colopy were my first two girls, and then Julianne Whitcamp, and then I also trained Fiona Wallace.
Oh, yes, Fiona.
Yes. So Fiona had also gone through Terry Martinez with me in one of her comps, and somehow she said to me she mixed up something and she didn't get as lean enough or something. So I did her next prep, and she dropped she just had a baby, and I think it was something like 36 kilos of weight. Wow. I got off her in 10 months.
Wow.
But she'd blown out. And that was just using my own initiative with what I'd learned and programming her and checking on her nearly every second day and making sure her quantities were right and her training program. And I did the other girls the same way. And I just sort of looked and because, as you know, sometimes it's a bit of trial and error. My first attempt with Julianne, I had her doing way too much cardio because she was also like me, an instructor. So and she came in too soft in the legs. So the next time I pulled the cardio and didn't get it, she did none because she was so used to doing it. And then she came in really hard through the legs. So I learned myself on the way.
Yeah. What's really interesting is, we're coaches now, and, it's all online. Like, people send us their photos, their data, they weigh in, all this kind of stuff. So how did you do it back then? Face to face, jumping the scales?
I would go to their place, or I'd see them at the gym and say, right, let's have a check and see how you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say, what are you still eating now? And they'd show me, and I'd go, let's change this. So if they were say they were browning their chicken mince in a pan with a bit of olive oil, well, then what I'd do is say, okay, stop doing that. Let's start steaming the chicken. So let all that fat come out. So I'd make minimal changes like that, keep the quantity the same, but I'd get a result.
Yeah, understood.
They'd drop a kilo, just like that.
Wow. And back then, what was the landscape like for federations and divisions? So what federations did you put these women in, and what divisions were they?
I put them into A and B. Yep. I put them into A and B. That was because I was affiliated more with A and B. And that's where I started back in, well, it was actually in the year 2000, in 99, I did another one, and that was at the National Theatre with ANBB. Then they dropped the B, and then Steve Littleton took over, and he also took over Muscle Mania, which is now Fitness Australia or something. Mm-hmm. So Steve Littleton ran Muscle Mania and A&B, and I ran all the backstage, judged, did all the posting, did as much as I could, helping that federation. I had little posing classes at the gym when Craig and I had our gym. I went up to Queensland. I did all that sort of stuff, and I organised all the Crown Casino when they did the fitness pageant in 2001. That was Muscle Mania. So the girls would come from A and B and go into Muscle Mania. And the very first bikini comp was in 2001, and we had 18 girls.
Wow. So that's the bikini division.
That was the bikini division, and there was bikini, and there was also a themed round, which they did. And it was Crown Casino. And the place that we did in was unbelievable, because I was allowed to play with the lighting people and organise the stage. So I had a big rostrum set up, and I made them put up stairs for me, and I covered them with red carpet. So I had guys escorting the girls on, and they used to come down the red carpet stairs and leave them on the stage, and then they do their routine and go off. I did that. So I did, because I've always liked creating stuff.
Sounds like then Vicki,
I could have my own
federation.
Hey?
I said, sounds like Vicki needs to run a federation.
No, Vicki doesn't need to run a federation. We'll get home and shut up. No. But it was, the experience that I've had, and going through like all of those shows, running the backstage, and you learn from it. And my theatre, because I did musical theatre, I learned a bit about lighting. I learned a bit about staging and choreography. So because I'd performed every sort of genre of dance, it was really lent itself to everything I wanted to do, and costuming and what have. And I made a lot of costumes and stuff for people too. So, I just love creating stuff and working with people and sitting back and going, wow, I had a little helping hand in that, and they look amazing.
Yeah.
And that's why I do what I do.
So then how did it transform into judging, and when did you start judging, and what federations did you start, and then how did you move into ICN judging? Okay.
I started judging. I did a judging course in 1997, just after I competed. The A and B, Steve Littleton and Terry Martinez, they ran a judging conference or something like that. It was for half a day. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't sort of, an official thing, but there was a lot of people. There was people like, I remember we had it at Neil Brophy's gym in Windsor. That's where we had it. And we went through, and back then the quality wasn't really good. They had competitions on the TV, and you had to sort of guess who would win out of that and that. and then they would explain about symmetry. It was really pretty wishy-washy sort of thing. But then I used to just go myself to comps and sit behind and work out who I think would win. That's what I did. I couldn't get enough of it. When I'm interested in something, and I got all the Rocco's books, and I couldn't get enough of books and reading, and, you know, because like there was no social media, like I said, and with Craig as well. So my first judging was in 2001, and that was back with, actually, no, it wasn't. It was probably 1998, 99, because he took me up to Queensland. And then I started back with Muscle Mania. Then it was A and B. I did all of the A and B shows and judged all around the place. And then we got into IFBB. I think that was in 2003. So I started judging with IFBB in 2003. Mm-hmm. And then I travelled to Western Australia to judge an IFBB show for Mike O'Mara. This was before IFBB split up, because they're now Elite and Pro League. Yeah. And I went and judged the Nationals in Sydney, and I judged all the Victorian shows for Tony Doherty. Wow. And I used to also help Tony Doherty with all the backstage, and that was up until 2013 when it was FitX. Mm-hmm. So I did all the backstage, got the music organised, made sure everybody was on the stage and stuff like that. And then if I wasn't out the back, then I would also judge the show. So,
and then when did you exclusively go to ICN? Or
ICN, I think I went. Well, back then it was INBA. Let's say that it was INBA, and I can't even remember how it all started. I think I was judging for them probably in about 2005 or 6, something like that. It was around the time that Craig started our own show. Yes, it was before that, because I remember our first show was 2006, and Tony and Patricia came. So I must have started with INBA back in about 2004. Okay,
so it sounds like there was a crossover where you were judging for multiple federations at once.
At the same time, I was doing the 3. I was doing ANB, IFBB, and INBA.
Wow, okay. Wow.
And I was also doing reports for the shows for the magazine.
Wow.
So Craig had me doing everything, and that's where we ran our own show up in Bendigo. So he said, because we've got the magazine and we're covering all federations, we've got to be nice to everybody. So that's why it was easy back then. There wasn't any of this stuff like there is now. You know, it was so much easier back then to be able to do that. And then I chose to just drop the A and B. I think that was 2000. And when did you last?
2011 was when I competed.
11. I think it might have been about 2013. I might have left there as well. Okay. I can't remember. It was just before Maria got someone else to take over.
Yeah, that would have been 2000.
Yeah, it was starting to be a little bit uncomfortable, and I was still doing it. I did IFBB right up till 2010 or 11, I think it was, as well. And then I was getting really busy. Tony said, "Can you start doing something with the posing for ICN?" But I'd already been doing the posing workshops around Australia with Lindy Olsen and Greg Dolman.
Oh, yes.
So I was travelling around with them, going to Adelaide and going to Sydney and stuff like that with those guys. So that was my first part was with ANB as well. And then Tony wanted me to get something going for the INBA. So then I did that. And then at the same time, I was doing posing with Amanda Doherty.
Oh, wow.
IFBB. We were travelling all around to different gyms, and I was doing IFBB as well. So I was doing the whole lot.
Wow. So then around about 2013 or 14, that's when you started to just do INBA only mostly.
Yeah. It was back then. Yeah, that's how long, and then that's how long I've stayed with just that, and just worked off that, and just kept going. And it just seems like yesterday. It's just evolved, and the changes have been, incredible to sort of witness and see. And as you know, I'm a little bit outspoken about certain things, but I've quietened down a lot now because I get myself into too much hot water.
Well, I remember back in 2011 when I did my show, the females was majority figure category.
Yes.
And there was one category, and I think they just called it model. I think they just called it model.
Yeah.
And it was just a theme wear round.
Yep.
And which was like more like a sportswear round.
Yes.
And then there was then they wore a bikini, but it was just, I think there was like 10 females in the whole show. And now we have shows dedicated to females, and majority of the competitors are females. So it's evolved so much over time. And now, as you know, we have like 4 main divisions. We've got bikini, sports, fitness, figure, and they've spread out into kind of those 3, and they're very specific looks. There's a kind of blend between some of them, and people can cross compete. But how do you like how it's evolved? Do you think that we've gone in the right direction and we've split it the way we have is the right way to go with the different?
Well, I think also what's happened now, the people that the women that used to like doing figure have dropped off considerably because no one wants to train for that long and develop that thick quality muscle. Yeah. So that's why figure in Victoria, especially, not so much in some of the other states, Victoria figures dropped off. We used to have a really good lineup, but we don't seem to get them as much anymore. But yeah, bikini, fitness, sports, wellness, it's all going to come together that you've got this look here, this look, but then sometimes you get a whole lineup of girls and none of them are either one or the other. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I feel that it's great for young women to get into this sport because it does teach them a lot about themselves. It does teach them how to eat properly, and it gives them something to do. Gym's good for them because if they don't dance or they don't do Zumba or aerobics or something, they're a bit uncoordinated, so they like lifting weights. So then they start, like I did, see some change in their bodies, so they become passionate about it. And then the competing side comes to it. Then they say, well, why don't you compete? And then it sort of like gives them a goal to work toward, each time. And some of them will do it and do really well. They'll last a couple of years, then they'll just disappear off the face of the earth.
Yeah, like I've had probably about 4 or 5 conversations with different clients this week about how much prep is changing their life from a positive perspective. And these first timers, and how much they're learning about themselves. And I'm talking about girls that had eating disorders.
Yes. And
prep is helping them learn that eating more food is good for them. And not doing a whole bunch of cardio is good for them. And how much this is not only changing their life now, but how they can see this is going to change their life even after comps said and done, and they're living their life out. So there's a lot of there's a lot of bad things that people say about competing, and it's unhealthy and it's this and it's that. But people don't talk about the positives. And I think that they totally outweigh the negative when it comes to prep. And you learn so much about yourself. You learn about how to sacrifice because, if you can sacrifice your time and maybe and doing things that you don't really want to do but you need to do, it teaches you things in the future when you need to sacrifice to save for a house, to get the job that you want, to sacrifice for a partner because they're pregnant or whatever that may be. It teaches you a lot of good qualities and characteristics that you can follow through for the rest of your life for sure. It
does. And I 100% agree on that because it's such a learning thing if the people want to learn it. And having, I know we've got so many coaches, but there's probably, I could count the really good coaches on one hand, you 3 included, that do things the right way, that give that care and attention to their competitors, because the proof's there when people that you guys train step on stage. So they're learning from you, which you're passionate about what you do. You're helping them. You're there for them when they need you. But a lot of people that are doing this aren't there for people. And that's the sad part. Yeah. And the other sad part is once they do really well in a natural show, then they go off to another federation. And the next thing you know, they're taking stuff that's harmful. That I really dislike in a big way. Yeah. I really think that just kills it. It kills it for me that you would go to that length to be, better. You've got no skills. You lift weights. That's all it is. And now you're going to take something. Do you know what I mean? It's not a skill. Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
But then you look down on other people that don't go down that path. I just think that separating, it's lost its momentum somewhere in the middle there. That
I think social media has played a big part. Like people are
yes,
very much comparing themselves to other people. So like they do really well. You might go to a natural federation competition and do well, maybe win, maybe not win, but do decent. And then you start looking at people who are, in the IFBB, for example, comparing yourself to that. And all of a sudden, you're trying to be, something that, potentially they might have been training for an extra 5 or 10 years than you.
Yeah.
But, you're taking now a path necessarily that, could be considered the shortcut to some. But I think social media has done that. And I think that's one of the things that, back in your day, you didn't have that, comparison to someone in an instant. You couldn't just jump on a phone and compare yourself to 50 other females, which I think is a very good thing. And one of the things I think we see often as coaches is, the instilling of self-doubt when competitors are constantly on social media, looking at your stories because you're resharing all of the athletes that you're posing with, as are other posing coaches, and they know that they're going to be up against this competition in a few weeks' time. Do you get competitors messaging you, asking for constant reassurance on, do you get people asking you, do you think I'll win? Do people actually ask you that?
People ask me that, and I also have the ones that come in and burst into tears, and I have to help them get over it, and it takes half an hour. I have everything. I feel like a counsellor sometimes, because they break down. I think a lot of the girls like to talk to me because I'm older and I understand. But everyone says, "Oh, do you think I'll win?" And I say, as like I always say, I don't know who's going to turn up on the day in the lineup that you're in.
Yeah,
I have no idea until I sit down there. I said, all you can do is make sure that you've prepared yourself and got yourself into the best shape you possibly can for the category you want to participate in, and if you get a medal, it's a bonus.
Yeah, I think like anyone who's listening, like if you're getting close to comp, like to be in a really confident and sound position in your own mind is, don't ask your coach or your posing coach, am I going to win? Ask them, do you think I'm ready? And if the answer is yes, then you've done what you need to do. And like, and I've worked with both, obviously, or everyone on screen I've worked with, and it's always about, have I done absolutely everything? Have I turned every stone? And if that's the case, and you have, you've already won. Like that's the best you're going to do, because we've all been at comps where, someone stands on stage who you go, holy crap, man, like. Yeah, no one's going to compete next to that person, whether it's a
where did they come from?
And there's nothing you can do, right?
That's exactly it.
Because we don't know if you slacked out on your posing, you weren't practicing, you didn't practice posing endurance, you were skipping meals, you weren't doing your cardio, you weren't, inputting the data that your coach was asking, then that's on you. But if you've done absolutely everything and you've brought 110%, regardless of what your coach or your posing coach says, you have absolutely done your job. And the result, in my opinion, yes, it's great and it's fun, but the medal is irrelevant. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
But most people don't have that way of thinking. Most people don't. That's coming in, I want to win. And they I want to win. And some people will win. But as we all know, it is the sport of genetics.
Yeah.
It's the sport of genetics, and that plays a big part. But it also needs to have people that can guide you to get you to look the best you possibly can. If you're lacking in different body parts, you need someone to be able to pinpoint where you're lacking and give you the training needed to develop in that area, so that you do create a complete physique. Because that's always what was drummed into me, that as in the federation, that we judge the complete physique. But now, now we're bringing in the wellness thing. So now we're just judging big bums and legs. Like, seriously, where's it going to go to next? It was always all over. Bodybuilding is bodybuilding. It's the all over look. It's the all over look that you bring to the stage in each category. There's no category for narrow shoulders and wide hips. But now we're sort of making one for the girls that have got the developed legs. But a lot of those girls that have got the developed legs, they're genetically like that, or they've been athletes in their early day. But sometimes there's just too many categories, for them to choose from. Some of them are going in 6 and 7 categories just to win a medal.
Yeah.
And
On that topic, I think one of the questions that you got, Scott, that come through social media was, what is your favorite division that you like out of the female categories? And then let's talk about the guys. What's your favorite male division that you like?
Me?
Yeah, you, yeah.
Oh, me. I like the bodybuilding and I like the classic.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
they're
then,
my two, because I like muscle. I like to see people that have actually trained and got muscle. That's what I like to see more than anything. I mean, yeah, they're fitness model, yeah, it's fine. And the other thing in the shorts, that's fine. But, you know, once upon a time, there was only bodybuilding. That's all we had. I mean, when we first started, and this is just going back, I'll just go quickly back a bit. When we started doing bikini and fitness and men in board shorts, IFBB laughed at us because we did that. Oh, look what they're doing now. That we'll never do that. We'll never do that. And have a look now.
yeah, it's
You
the
know what I mean?
categories, yeah.
Exactly. And this is what is a little bit frustrating, that you made a mockery and they all laughed about putting guys in shorts and putting girls and having a bikini category. Well, look how the tables have turned now.
Like I think
turned around.
Yeah, it's very narrow-minded. I think it's good for the sport that we do expand into different categories, so we have more people involved in the sport and the sport grows. So I think that's a good thing, because if we only just stuck to figure and bodybuilding, it probably wouldn't grow the sport that much, because people would think it'd be too hard to obtain. So the fact that we do have some of those categories is really, really good. It obviously helps us from a business perspective, because we get more which helps us, and the industry grows and more people feel included and more people get fit and healthy and they learn a lot about themselves, etc. etc. So I think there's definitely a play. And we know, like, bikinis, we're talking about for ICN or for a natural fed, or even for IFBB, bikini's one of the biggest categories. Yes. Obviously, sports is a little bit bigger because there's a cross competing between fitness and bikini. So sports is always massive for that reason, that you can cross compete. But bikini is one of the most popular divisions. Always has the most height classes at any show, which is a good thing. It's getting more people involved in the sport for sure. It's
definitely kept the federations going. If we didn't have it, we wouldn't have one. And that, you have a look at the show recently, how the numbers were so low. If it wasn't for those bikini and fitness girls, we wouldn't have a show to put on. Yeah. Because we didn't get the numbers with the bodybuilding and stuff like that. I think we've had too many shows. Just speaking thing with ICN at the start of the year, there's too many, and there've been small shows. But we've still got to try and encourage people to keep training hard and stay with it, not just do a couple and then disappear. But if you look at the standard where bikini girls with ICN, and then you look at the standard of bikini girls in IFBB, the IFBB girls are looking like our figure girls. Yeah. That's what's happened.
IFBB bikini is a very specific look, very, very specific. And
it didn't start off like that, because I had girls in it from the start. And it wasn't like, they didn't want them muscular. They didn't want abs. They didn't want that. And that's the same thing was to be said for the guys in board shorts. It's all changed. It's all different now. Yeah. It's just all changed because they've just got bigger and bigger and bigger because they're allowed to.
Yeah. The men's physique has definitely gone from, like, I reckon what used to be like, was something between an 8 and 10% body fat look almost, to like diced, peeled, huge backs, right? V-tapers that,
I know.
Mind-blowing, massive chest, veiny arms. So yeah, it's definitely like there's a couple of things on YouTube. If you watch the evolution of men's physique, it's just like how much size.
To be honest, the very first time we did the men's physique in IFBB in Victoria, my guy won.
Oh wow!
He won it, and I've got a photo of him, and I'll show you how big he was. And they said, "This is what we want. We don't." I was like, it just got bigger. Because I remember Aaron Curtis went in and he didn't even place.
Yeah.
Because he was too big. But look where we've gone to now.
Yeah, now he's probably suited to do it.
Exactly.
But it's just like anything, isn't it? Bigger, more. Like as the world goes on, we just want more and more and more and more, though.
I know. Well, we just want the general public to appreciate us and understand what we do. rather than tainting us with the thing, oh, they're all on drugs. We're not, and that's why it's the stigma there is sad. I have even my oldies come into my room, and you've seen my room. I've got all my athletes up on the wall there, and they go, oh, I wouldn't want to look like this. And I said, well, you never will anyway. But these people are natural. Yeah. They do it naturally through diet and training. They don't take anything, and they go, oh, I said, no. I am an honest person. I would tell you, these are all natural athletes. They don't look like that every day.
Yeah.
They don't, the general public don't understand that you can commit yourself to look however you want with enough commitment and hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't.
I think that's because as well, it's easier for people to just sit back, especially in today's society, and just criticize instead of just to perhaps like fathom that someone could make that much sacrifice and apply that much adherence to really test their body and, go that far down the rabbit hole to see what they can do. And that's why it's such an extreme sport, because 99% of people physically don't have that ability to do that, and mentally they're not strong enough. So it's like everything. You feel what you don't know. So it's easy to just say, nah, they're on drugs, and, just to miss the hard work. But when you live in the sport like we do, that it's not like they just woke up one day and were shredded. Like, it was a 26 or 30-week prep to get to that point. And it's years of training to build that tissue. So,
And I think it's great how you're all doing it now, because you're making them go longer than all this, when you've got the ones that are sort of coming up and they're only doing a 6-week prep, and you just think, these are the coaches that I won't be recommending.
Oh, I spoke to you the other month, Vicki, about conditioning needs to be rewarded more often, because that's where hard work was put in.
Yes.
Yeah, for females and for males, it really needs to be rewarded, because we can play the role of genetics and the person has the best shape wins, but if they're not in condition, they didn't put any hard work in. So.
No, that's right, and that's always seems to be a bit of a grey area sometimes on the judging thing. What's too hard and what's not too hard, and we never always. Most of the time, we agree on everything, like Andrew and I. But a lot of the time, he'll say, "Oh, she's too hard." I go, "But it's showing everything." Oh, but it should have done figure, and it's like, those things get to me. The conditioning nowadays is much better than what it used to be back when I did it.
Yeah, so
much better.
Talking about that, as you are a judge, it'd probably be good to maybe just quickly run over what's an ideal competitor for bikini, sports, fitness, figure. If you want to run through it real quick, because I think people would really like to know that coming from you. Yeah.
Well,
so bikini.
Like we said, we've got a few different natural federations, and bikini in this, but it's not in the other, and all the rest of it. Bikini for me is about shape. So the shape we like to have, and this is what's been discussed, and it is on the ICM website, is for the girls to have some shoulders, a small waist, and round through the hips, a bikini shape, but also toned. Not a fitness shape, which is broad shoulders and you come down to a T, because those girls have got narrower hips. So the fitness girls have got narrower hips than a bikini girl. But then sometimes you'll get a bikini girl that gets really hard up here and is soft through the backside and the legs. And then you'll also get it the other way.
It comes up a lot, doesn't it? It does come up a lot, females, just genetically, like to be able to get, I've got a handful of clients who can get hard as nails on top before you start to see any detail in the lower half. Exactly.
And that's where it's really hard. So for us, if we get a lineup of girls and they're all sort of got that curvy shape, well, you can just got to try and pick the girl that's has done the hardest work, that's got the tone, especially through the glutes and the hamstrings. And that's why a lot of the time we look at from the back, we look at their back pose, because they all look good from the front and from the side. It's when you turn to the back is where you see whether they've still got a lot of cellulite or they don't have much tone or shape. Some girls will never get it. It doesn't matter how hard they try. It's not going to happen in a short time. It's years to get all of that down. And if they inherit that cellulite sort of skin from parents, that makes it hard as well. So I like a curvy shape more so for bikini, but some girls are getting a little bit too lean for bikini for me.
Mm-hmm.
They look too thin. I don't like to see straight arms. I want shape, and lines through the abdominals. I don't necessarily want a six-pack, but some lines through here. And then where we say where fitness is, we want them, and of course facial beauty and all that comes into it, grooming, that's all a part of it. But when they come on stage, first thing I do is chop off their heads and I look at the body. I don't even look to see who they are. Do I know those? Don't know. They're a number to me. A lot of the girls that I have through my posing and workshops and that, I don't even recognise them on stage because they look so different. They've changed their hair, they've got their makeup on, and I go, oh my God, is that so-and-so? And I have to check, and because they look very, very different. But yeah, I like the curve with the tone for bikini, the fitness. I like a more of an athletic look, but some girls can sort of cross over from bikini because they're just on the verge of almost being fitness and do sports, because I know that sometimes we've had girls from bikini have won the sports section because they look better in the sports wear. Mm-hmm. Bikini, the fitness girls have got more definement and muscle tone through their shoulders, and they require a six-pack. But then you'll get the girls that'll get lean on the legs and the arms, but they won't get a six-pack.
Yeah,
they just don't get it. But I would then select that person if they've got the best muscular body for fitness without being too hard. Even if they don't have the six-pack, I would still have, they would be my preference, because that's what I'm looking for, is the shape for that as well. So, you know, the sports can go either way, and there I think it becomes to preference. I see some girls come out and they look better in their sportswear than they do in their bikini. Mm-hmm. Some look better in bikini than in sports, and vice versa. So it'll be interesting.
With the fitness, do we want to see some gluten ham tie-in?
Most definitely.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. But and it's hard to get that if they haven't got it. You know, it takes time to build that. They'll get the upper body, and look, I look at my physique was the perfect example. I had all of that down the bottom, but I needed to build up the top. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So some people are like that as well. I didn't have enough upper body. When I learned about Cindy, I had the legs of a bodybuilder and the upper body of the figure girl. But a lot of the girls are the opposite now. They've got the muscular upper body and that, but then they've got nothing through the legs. The ones that have got something through the legs are going to be those that have been gymnasts or dancers or just have that genetic shape. They've been athletes. They're the ones that have been sitting on their butt all their life. They're not going to have a glute hamstring tie-in. That's not going to happen in 6 months.
No. So then on that kind of topic about, lower body dominance, then we've got wellness, which is a new category. Yeah. So what are we kind of looking for in that?
Well, we still want to look for a certain amount of tone. We sort of don't want the body to be, the diet didn't kick in early enough and I've still got a lot of fat on the top of my legs and my backside, and that's why I'm going in. Yeah. Because it's the only category that I'm suited to. Mm-hmm. That's not what you really want. You don't want the muscles, the backsides to be soft and squishy. You still want to have some tone through there. And this is going to take some time for this category to get exactly to the criteria of what we want it to be, because we've only had one show. Yeah. And even then, it hasn't, we can only judge what we've got in front of us. Yeah. And that's where it's going to be hard. So I think there's only minimal competitors in this next show. It'll be interesting to see what's there. And it'll also be interesting to see as it goes down, is it going to get to a better standard, or is it going to be people that are just soft that can't be bothered to go into the bikini category? They're too soft, so I'll do wellness. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I've got someone in that show coming up for wellness, and I've put them in thinking that this should be more ideal for wellness, but we'll have to see what you guys think, on the day. Exactly. Like I said, we'll just have to sort of see between the panel who decides on, that's what I'm looking for. That's what we all have a criteria that we go by.
Yeah.
So Andrew and I are very similar in what we choose until it gets to the bikini. Then it's always an issue. And I mean, the majority are going to win. Like, I get overruled lots of times.
Mm-hmm.
And because there'll be those two will want that, and I want that, and what can I do about it? Majority rules. But I'll always try and argue my point of why I think this person's better than this one, because that's just me.
So that's a really good topic. What actually happens on the judging table? How many judges are normally there? And role the head judge, and then how do you score, and how do you discuss between?
All right, so on the panel now, there's always going to be an odd number of judges. Everybody wants to be a judge.
Yeah.
But the people that have got the best eye for detail will always get a spot on the judging panel. Hello. So we have 3 main judges, and then we have critique judges.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they're critiquing. So that's how they learn. That's how they learn to look at things and write down, well, that was great, but you need to do this. And then they will sit next to either myself or Andrew as they're learning and learn how to place. Okay, how would you place this person, that person? So that's how we sort of do it with the ones that are learning. But there's only ever 3 main judges that will judge for the placings of the show. So it's myself and Andrew and one other person.
Okay.
So what we do, like I do, we all have our different ways. As soon as the line comes out, I'm writing down the numbers: 46, 22, 19, 8, 4, and 7. There's my top 5 already when they've come out.
Wow, okay, that quick.
So, that's how I do it. But not everybody does it like me.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm watching all the time. A lot of the others don't watch until they come forward, because they're still fluffing around with papers. So when they come out there, and then when they're standing in their pose, I have a look at the overall look like that, and then the others will start writing down their numbers, and then we'll compare who's got what, and usually it's we might have, and Andrew will say, is that your order? And I'll say, no, that's just my numbers, that's not the order. And then we write them down in orders. So we may have 2nd and 3rd around the wrong way, or we might have 4th and 5th. We've got the same people, but we've got them the other way around. So then we'll put those 2 people together for 4th and 5th, get them to do quarter turn. Let's compare them together. She's much better on that side. She's better at the back. And then we've got 2nd and 3rd. Let's put these 2 ladies together and go through that. If we've got a lineup and we're pressed for time and someone comes out and they're an absolute standout, we might go through a series of quarter turns, and then we'll say, okay, well, we've got 1st and 2nd. Let's put them down the end.
Yeah.
So we put them down the end. So when we've decided between the 3 of us that those people are definitely 1st and 2nd, we might move them down the end. If we've got 10 other people to try and compare.
Yeah.
Because there's no point looking at those 2, because we've all decided that that's 1st and 2nd, but we don't always do that, because then people start to think, they're going to get 1st. So we change it around a little bit. Sometimes we don't move them at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we know who we've got 1st and 2nd. So you're always going to try and stay one step ahead, because people always listen in and pick up things and that. And sometimes they'll, they like to hear, pick up on the end of conversations, and then that gets sort of miscommunicated to other people, and this has happened often as well. I'm terrible because Tony tells me that I pull faces. I don't think I do. But if something comes out that shocks me, well, I can't help it. It's like, I might do something like that. But I generally really like to make the girls feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. If people are not being respectful to other athletes on the stage, I'll also say something. I don't care. Everybody deserves the right to be there. Everybody deserves their time on stage. Everybody deserves the right to be seen. I don't appreciate people walking across in front of other people. Mm-hmm. I think they should walk behind. And this is all a stage thing that I learned from all my years in theatre. Yeah. And, if you need to move people nicely and welcome them and make the girls, and I smile at the girls, and if they go wrong, I just smile and wink at them. It's okay, you know. I like to do all that sort of thing because they're scared. They're first timers.
Yeah.
And they don't want to feel intimidated by the angry looking judge out the front or whatever. So, but yeah, getting onto the things, that's how we do it. Some people will judge if we've got the 2 rounds, like with the symmetry and that. Some people will go, they're my top 5 in symmetry and these are my top 5 in muscularity, whereas I just wait and do the whole thing all together.
Yeah, understand.
Because I know what I'm looking for.
Insight for anyone who's watching. I'm sure heaps of people would have loved to have asked you that question. So I'm really glad that we covered it, because, you know, as a competitor, whether you're a first-time competitor, you've competed 10 times, tell me you're not standing on stage wondering what the judges are doing, what they're thinking.
Yeah.
You know, I always say to people to sort of look past you, smile and look past you.
So do I.
Don't get caught looking at you guys. It's pointless. It's not going to change anything.
It is.
And, you know, you can really overthink something. Like if I see, you know, if someone sees you talking to Andrew and they might, you know, misread what they think you've said to each other, they can throw their whole routine out. So I always say, just look past the judges, smile, look at the crowd, enjoy the day, and don't get caught up too much in what you guys are doing. Leave that.
Well, they've got to look up and out. If you drop your head and look down at the judges, you're going to have all your photos with your head down like this. You know, they get a nice photo of your eyeshadow, but that's about all. Yeah. You keep your head up. I was judging I remember this clearly in Tassie one day, and it was back when we had everybody come out one at a time and do their thing. And one of the other judges leaned across to me to ask me what time lunch was. And this girl was staring, and she totally lost where she was. Totally lost her place because she thought we were talking about her. And this dude was asking about lunch. That's what I mean. Don't look at the judges. It's a show. Keep your head up, look straight out. And I will always tell people that, because no one's ever been able to tell me why you stare at the judges. I've asked. And no one can give me an answer. Why would you stare at them? You think you're going to intimidate us? I don't think so. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me.
An interesting question. Do crowd favourites play a role at all? So like someone that has the biggest crowd or yells their number the loudest, or maybe yells out, look at that person's glutes, best glutes on stage. Does that ever play a role?
No, not with me, it doesn't. No. If anything, I'd say, oh, you're coming last, mate. No, we hear it all behind us, and then we might say to each other, because if another person wins, beats this guy whoever's being yelling out at, we're going to say, we better run out really fast to the venue. I said, they might be waiting there with hatchets. Because no, it doesn't. You can't allow that to happen.
Sure.
But I'm sure that people that haven't been doing it as long as me would start to think, oh, maybe I should choose that person. But not when you've done it. Like I said, I say to the girls, you're just a number to me. You're not Mary and Louise and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. You're just a number on the day, and that's all you've got to think about is your number. Is you remember your number, and then I judge you as a competitor. And it's not a personal thing. It's not about who you learnt posing from. I wish people would stop that. It's got nothing to do with that. It's about the best body that's got the best shape for the category that's in front of us on the day, not last week or tomorrow, on the day. That's what it is, the person that looks the best out of everybody.
We know that there's no favoritism, because it's proven time and time again where other people's posing clients win. There's no favoritism between coaches either. You know, not all of our clients always win, even though we're the more popular coaches out there. So we know there's no favoritism, and that's what makes this sport what it is, and that's what makes it good about the sport is we have no idea what's going to happen. Put the best up there on stage and let the judges decide. Yeah,
that's it. That's all you can do is bring your best package. You know, if you get a medal, it's a bonus. You know, ICN are pretty good. We give 5 placings. I mean, that's pretty good. A lot of people only give 3.
3, yeah.
We give 5. So, you know, that's really beautiful encouragement award things or whatever. You know, it's good. I love it. If I didn't love this, I wouldn't do it.
Of course.
Seriously, I'm very passionate about what I do, and I love the people I meet through it, and love working with, you know, like I said, the girls, and I work with some of them. They're in their 50s. The ladies, they're great to work with as well. You can have a good old laugh because they've got my sense of humour. More so, they're a bit closer to my age, even though I'm nearly 70. But You know, the young girls, I love them. I feel like they're great. I say to them, I could be your nanny, you know. And they feel comfortable with me to ask questions. So I'd say, message me anytime.
Yeah.
You know,
We've
got to look after them.
Yeah, we are lucky that you do, that we have someone like you in the industry that is so open to that too. One thing you mentioned before was, you know, you kind of pick your placings as they walk out. So obviously how they present themselves as they walk out is important. And then obviously posing plays a role. So maybe I know we're getting on with time, but maybe let's talk a little bit about posing and about stage presence and about you know, how you should switch on when you walk on. And what, from a judging perspective, what are you looking at from a posing standpoint? Are transitions important? Like what's important, what's not so important?
All right. So what's important when they, like I said, when they walk out, if they walk out with good posture, just like you can see it in their body, they're going to hold themselves well to walk out. Mm-hmm. They're not swishing their arms and staring at the front. They're just walking out, holding themselves well. That's where I start. If I see the numbers, I go, yeah, that looks nice. And then they turn to the front. I go, yeah, good. So when they come down to the front, like I say to the girls, don't worry too much about this fancy walk that everybody seems to think that you have to do. In ICN, the amount of walking that you do is not very much. Mm-hmm. You walk out and then you walk down. So we don't, on our judging sheets, have a special column that marks you for your walk. Now, some federations may do that, mm-hmm. but that's not important to us. It's important, it's the body first and foremost, and it's the posing second, because mm-hmm. we've had people that haven't posed really well, but they've had the best body. They win. Yeah. You know, as much as, you know, they posed well enough to take that placing? Well, sure. They have, but they didn't have a very fancy transition because they've got 2 left feet and they can't do a fancy transition. They've kept it simple. Mm-hmm. And I keep a lot of mine very simple because they ask me to. Yep. So it's about keeping the girls happy with what they wanted so they're not nervous on stage. So, you know, it's great to have a fancy transition and, that's impressive, but it doesn't necessarily mean that person's going to win. Mm-hmm. They've got to have the body to follow up. You've got to back it up with something. It's not just about the posing. I judge mainly when they're still, and that's all of us too. When you've done the pose and you're standing there and you're holding it, that's when we're judging you. Yeah. When you're doing your transitions, no, it's not that important. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that you've got to have a special transition. As long as you get there and you're staying vertical, that's great. You know, and you haven't got to. And I say to them, if you slip or whatever, or you turn the wrong way, it doesn't matter. You don't lose points. We're only human. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's the first time you're on stage, earrings fall off and all that. And you see their face, I just say, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Someone will get it. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's no big deal. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is just to concentrate, keep your head up and let the show go on. So, yeah, of course, the posing's important, but it's probably more important when you're doing a category like figure and bodybuilding and that, because they're static poses. These girls are in these sorts of poses, but it still helps to have the correct posture. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So posing, posture, same thing. They're model poses, but what sort of model pose? You know, and we always discuss which was going to work best for which girl, and you'll say, I like this better, and I say, great, I'll put her in that. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy that we're able to have those sorts of discussions, changing poses and that around, that we think this might work better. Yeah. But a lot of the time when the girls first come in, I might have them a certain way, and then as their body changes, I might change that pose because I think it brings out it highlights them better standing in a different angle. But not a lot of people see or understand that, because I don't like to have everyone looking the same because we're all different bodies.
Yeah, I think it's really important that the coach has some knowledge of posing.
Yes.
So that the coach can then talk to the posing coach, and they can obviously more of a team collaborative effort.
I agree.
I think it's important that the posing coach understands the judging criteria, mm-hmm. and understands the shape and look that the body's supposed to have.
Yes.
Because I've seen some things happen where it's like they've put this woman in a pose where they haven't really understood what the judging criteria is and what they're actually looking for. That person has a good glutes or a good shape. Why did they put them in that front pose which doesn't show that?
Yeah.
And that's something that they're going to judge against. So I think it's really important that, and it's lucky that you are a judge and a posing coach, so you know.
Yes.
But posing coaches understand judging criteria, understand the shape that you're trying to create on stage and what they're trying to present.
Yeah.
What you're trying to maybe show your strengths and hide your weaknesses. And that's why I think sometimes it's important that posing coaches stay up to date with what the judges are looking for and go to shows and watch shows and things like that.
They set the poses, so you should go to the show and have a look and see what you've set to see what it looks like on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that there's some that don't even go to any shows. It doesn't look the same on a flat floor as it does when the girls are up on the stage. They need to come and see what they need to fix up with certain shaped bodies that's not very flattering when you put them up on stage. And it's all very well to have a judge at your posing workshop. That really doesn't mean. A lot of the judges don't do posing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one on the thing that does it. So, having a judge there isn't always going to make a great deal of difference. And getting feedback before the actual show, written feedback, I think that's silly. I'd say, if someone said to me, do you think I'm ready? And I'd say, well, the show's, next week, you're probably 3 weeks out. And they don't like to hear that. Well, don't ask me if you don't want to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been caught on that lots of times where people say I'm horrible because I said, but you asked. Yeah. As a judge, I have a bit of an idea on where you need to be in order to step on the stage. Why would I lie to you?
People only want the truth if it suits them.
That's right, Dale. Yeah, that's it. So I don't get upset anymore. And I just say, don't ask me if you don't know the truth. I'm always going to be honest to you. But the girls that we're getting through now, their posing is like so much better than what it used to be a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago it was terrible. They were bending over they were showing everything that you could possibly see. And, we've got rid of that pose and it's starting to look much better now. I'm pretty happy with how they all present themselves.
It's starting to be more consistent. And the poses that people are utilizing are more consistent across at least our state. Now, that's another thing we can talk about, how every state has something different. And then you go to nationals and everyone's posing differently. But at least in Victoria, where it's getting more standardized.
Yeah.
I know there is still a contention about different front poses, and I get it. Some people look better in a certain pose than others, but normally the back poses look pretty much the same. The side poses look pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And majority of the front poses look pretty much the same. So it is good that we are getting some standardization.
I'm delighted with how we look. I look at how ICN presents, and then I look at other federations, or I look at other states and that, and I think, no, our girls in Victoria leave you for dead.
Yeah. Sorry,
but they do, like we mightn't have the most fancy things, but they all stand well. They're all looking really nice. The only thing, some have got this thing coming in again. I don't know what's going on there. The trap's coming up too much, and that's the only thing that ruins a lot of girls and that's where I mean, the posing people need to look at what that looks like on stage and just sort of try and fix that up a little bit, but other than that, I'm generally happy with how everybody's posing at the moment. It's good, and they're not all. They don't all come to me, I know that, but that's fine. If everyone else is doing a good job, well, that makes our job easier.
Yeah.
What about the boys, Vic? I mean, I don't know about you guys with your athletes, but one thing that I find, I have to harp and really, I encourage my guys from like 16 weeks out that they're posing 2-3 times a week, to the point where when we're 12 weeks out, we actually employ like structured posing conditioning sessions. So you're doing timed rounds so that you actually have that posing conditioning, so that if you're in a tough lineup, like you can hold your poses, you can stay, you got the ability to do that. But I find girls are so much easier. I think maybe because, it's a little bit more fun for them. They get the bikinis out, but guys, and I feel like at shows sometimes the guys posing, unless they've actually mastered their craft and they've invested in it, sometimes it's so bad.
Yeah. Oh, it's shocking because they'll compete and I had a guy last week, oh, I'm competing next week, and they've done no posing. And this is what I mean. Guys are really hard to get posed because it's just the general attitude, I'll just wing it on the day. So this is what I mean. You're great because you know how important it is because you're a great poser yourself, and I know how much time you put in with your posing. And the people that do put in the time are always going to look better than those that don't. But just to a lot of the coaches, it's not that important. It's not, especially for guys, especially some of the male coaches that we have at the moment. If they've got a title and they're trying to teach all these different shapes and sizes, and I know myself, they come in, they've got a trap that's up like this, or they've got a wing scapula that, you know, they've just got bodies that are just going to look terrible unless we fix them up. And I haven't got a magic wand. So, you know, it's going to take more than one lesson for me. And the problem is most people don't start with their feet. All posing guys do is the upper body. They don't even look at their feet. And the feet are always a mess. So if the feet are a mess, you can bet your bottom dollar the rest of the poses are going to look crap as well. And that's what I try to say to my guys. Feet first. Feet, knees, hips, waist, chest, shoulders, arms are last. But you've seen yourself as they get their lats out, they've got their elbows up near their ears. But your arms have got nothing to do with your lats. They're not even attached. You know, they're attached to your shoulders. And if you don't understand the technique of posing and learn it properly from the start, you're never going to get it. And that's a sad thing. How do we get them to come to workshops? How do we get them to put more into their posing? But they've always got some hero from the gym in their ear telling them they don't need to, just get up and wing it on the day like I did. But that's the way guys are. In this industry, it's the meathead industry still. They're still like that.
I hope they're listening to this. And it's coming from the best in the biz that the guys need to step it up a little bit and make sure that they put some more time and effort into their posing and
get their feet right, Michael.
And they can present themselves with some quality on the stage because they, you know, all guys and girls, you work so hard in the gym and so hard in your diet, and you know, let's polish up at the end and present it the best way we can. Exactly.
What's the point otherwise?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I feel, it's the guys. The guys are really hard to get into that. But, you know, I think what I've started doing with the guys in the workshops now, instead of breaking it all down, fitness guys, classic, physique, bodybuilding, all in together. You know what? You're all going to learn how to pose. You're going to learn everything. Even if you're fitness, you're going to learn how to do classic poses. Even if you're doing, you know, fitness, you're going to do bodybuilding poses. Because you all need to learn, to get your feet right. Because the feet are a mess.
Yeah.
And where do they copy? They go onto YouTube and they copy off the federation where everybody's leaning to one side. And it looks hilarious. You know, I can't judge someone that's leaning to one side. What the hell is that? Or the arms are up here. Why is it not getting corrected? Because no one cares. Except me.
Well, we do care, and Vicki, we appreciate your time tonight. I know it's getting a little bit late, but we appreciate your time. We could talk to you forever.
Oh, I know. I'll go on forever too.
But we appreciate you so much for coming on. Obviously, you're a wealth of knowledge. We went through obviously your history, and which was entertaining because I didn't know a lot of those things. So it was awesome taking us through that, and then obviously talking about judging. You know, some really good insights about what happens at the judging table, and then obviously we spoke about posing and what we're really looking for in specific physiques and categories. We thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We will we'll definitely be seeing you soon. And
a few days.
Yes, definitely. So we appreciate your time again, and thanks for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure, and I'm happy working with you guys. You're the best. You're the best guys around, really. Our Compep coaches, number ones, all of you. So
thanks
you very much for having me. Go to sleep, Scotty. You look tired, darling.
Sorry, it's been a long day.
A long day, and he's got 2 kids. Oh boy, how hard must that be?
I got them in bed nice and early too, so that's good.
Did you? Hopefully they'll stay asleep for you.
I know. Well, I'll be honest. Harvey went down like 10 minutes before we started this, so I was like, please don't scream out and tell me that you need me.
Yeah. And Vicki, make sure you can't go without just giving a very quick cheeky plug to the wonderful man that is your son Cameron, who is obviously, I work with him, Trimboli works with him as well.
Yes.
The rehabilitator, for anyone who doesn't follow him on Instagram, he's a great man, an amazing therapist. He's looking after me at the moment, but he's out of Busy Bodies Baronia, and he's a magician.
Yeah, he is. He's so passionate about it, and it all goes back to when he was sitting in the gym eating his wheat bix and
under the table. That's
he wanted to try. Oh yeah, apart from that, but yeah, he's so passionate. He's had very good mentors. He did work experience with Andrew Locke, so he's gone right through and done all he's put his physiotherapy placement on hold this year so he can work. Very knowledgeable and passionate about what he does, and never stops studying, and always wants to do the best for everybody. And he's made some incredible changes to people's physiques. And, I love him to bits. I'm so proud of him. He's such a good boy.
He's also just a great man. He checks in regularly. He's always checking in on me. Even when he's not treating me, he's always checking in. So
I know.
You did a good job there.
Yep. Yeah, he's just like that. He's very passionate in that. So we're very lucky to have him. The rehabilitator.
That's what I said. Cheeky
plug. Yeah.
I'll be seeing you on Sunday, Vicki, and then I'm going to be seeing him on next Wednesday. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Very good indeed. I might have to come over and check on your posing there, Michael.
Yeah, and I'll see you next Saturday, Vic. So thanks.
All right. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, Michael.
See you, Mike. See you, boys.
Thank you.
All the best.
Bye.